Hey, it's Marilyn Devonish here from transformationstm.com. In this case, /photo reading, and this one is absolutely amazing and for me hugely inspiring, and maybe for you too. So if you are the parents of a moody teenager, in this case a 13-year-old boy who doesn't want to read and doesn't want to study, it may be you've got nieces, you've got nephews, you've got grandchildren, check this out. So we had a teenager attend the photo reading workshop this weekend, which is not unusual. The youngest delegate has been 7 years old. Before that, the youngest was 8 until the wonderful Eve came along at 7. And so it's usual to have children on the workshops alongside the adults. And as I'm always saying to the adults and the parents, the children will always teach us a thing or two. And parents often pull me aside and say, oh, I'm not really here for myself. I'm just here to keep an eye on X, Y, Z. And I just giggle to myself. I mean, I keep, like, oh, that's okay, that's fine, And I'm like, good luck with that. Because I know your kids or your grandkids or your niece or your nephew are going to run rings around you. And you're going to be learning from them, as will the adults on the workshop. And the way I saw that happen in a really big way, when Eve was on the workshop a few years ago, there was a woman who was a doctor or a pharmacologist. Unbeknownst to me, she went home on the Friday night and complained to her mother that I had a child on the workshop because she didn't think it was appropriate. She went home on the Sunday night and said to her mother, I've got a new hero. Her name is Eve. And Eve is the person she'd complained about on the Friday night. And then Eve did the mastermind group sessions as well. I'm not kidding you. Every month for 6 months, the adults, I could hear them writing when Eve was speaking and teaching. By that time, she was 8 because she had her 8th birthday on the workshop. So the children are always incredible. Now, what happened this weekend, I could tell he was a little bit grumpy when he turned up because he didn't hide the fact. But I was like, okay, that's interesting. But I didn't know until sorry, something on my tooth. I think it's a bit of lipstick. What I didn't know until the Sunday night as they were getting ready to go home is that he definitely didn't want to come on the Friday, didn't want to, leave the house. And also his mum said on one of the days, he tried to lock himself in the car. That's how resistant he was to coming along. Very interesting. Here's what happened by the Sunday. So they arrived later because he was at school on the Friday. Now, with the photo reading workshop, we do 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. on the Friday. Then we do the bonus belief change session from 7 till 8 on the Friday night, which is the Huna and Access Consciousness stuff, and then 9:30 to 6:30 on the Saturday and Sunday. So he had tried to lock himself in the car. His mum laughed and says, thankfully, she had the other key. She had another key. So anyway, she gets to, hey, Kate. We get to the Sunday. So very grumpy on Friday. Sort of a sigh of resignation on the Saturday morning. By the Saturday afternoon, warming up a bit, and that's the way kind of it always works. And by the Sunday, a complete turnaround. And there's an exercise that we do which is called the commitment statement, and asking people to make a commitment about how they want to move forwards with their photo. I'm going to share you a little snippet of his commitment statement. It says, I've learned a skill that I can use for as long as I live. This is the person who didn't want to come on Friday. I've learned a skill I can use for as long as I live, and hopefully I can pass this on to the younger generation. I mean, because he just read it to me, first of all. His mum says, have you shared your commitment statement with Marilyn? And I said, no. So I go over and he reads it. I got goosebumps when I read it. I was like, not only has he learned a skill that he now recognizes he can use for life, he wants to pass that skill on to the next generation. That was all in the space of 2 days. That is just freaking awesome. And he also said, because reading for him was a waste of time. That is also what he said on the Friday. Reading's a waste of time. Now, of course, his mum's dragged him along to do a 2.5-day workshop on reading. And so waste of time. On the Monday, I mean, number one, everybody who was there, he just so chilled, so relaxed. He looked different. He sounded different. There was much more confidence in his voice. And he said, no, reading is not a waste of time. He said, I've learned, what is it, 5 new things about chemistry, 3 new things that I didn't know before about geography, and kind of using the mind mapping, seeing how that can come together, and just absolutely incredible to go from trying to lock yourself in the car to having a skill that you and funny enough, and I think I don't know what it is, but when Eve did the workshop, and I actually sent an email to Paul Sheely, the creator of photo reading, and I said you might be in line for your youngest photo reading instructor, because when Eve stood up and did her commitments as well, she said that she, you know, when she grows up, she might want to be a photo reading instructor. That's the impact that it had on her as a 7-year-old. And she actually did go back to school, and she was teaching little secret little secret photo reading sessions in the playground. So, you know, it really is incredible stuff. Kate Thomas, who was also there with us when this all happened, Kate says it was so great to see the massive change in him. So enjoyed the photo reading training. No, Kate, seriously. And you know, I always know that's going to happen. I know a couple of people in the room were a little bit worried. I wasn't, because I've seen it so many times before. And people were, in the days where I used to do sometimes individual photo reading coaching sessions at home, parents would drop their kids off and always kind of give me that look of like, good luck. They'd phone me the next day and go, what have you done to my kids? I remember there's one guy brings his kids over because they're not studying effectively and they're not studying properly. And so, you know, come along, have the kids. I do an experiment, because I said, what's the problem, what's going on, what's your outcome, and what's their outcome, because that's really important. It's not just about what the parents want. You're important, but you know, your kids are human beings. So we talk about it, and I thought, okay, I've got an experiment that I'm going to do, and the experiment involved classical music, which they just refused to listen to. The reason he phoned me up the next day, he's like, what have you done to my kids? I says, what do you mean? He says, they're actually asking to listen to classical music. And so I know it's very easy to do that, and I know even in the face of it, from the outside looking in, it might have looked like a hopeless case. It's like, good luck. However, I know the intention that I hold for my clients. I also know the power of what this stuff can do. And so I'm expecting to see that transformation, but it's really lovely for the people who are there to witness it as well. It really, really is powerful stuff. Hi, Lynn. So Lynn Hope Thomas says, thanks for helping us mums. I'm a single mother, and so it is so hard, and you can make it easy, exclamation mark. Lynn, I know, and I think the beauty of it for me is they're not my kids. And so things that parents might be saying to their children and falling on deaf ears because it's your mum, it's your dad, or it's your aunt, or even it's your uncle, whatever it is. And actually aunts and uncles get away with it a little bit more, because I can swoop in and say something as well and have an impact. But when they're not my kids. And so I have the luxury of being able to say things and being heard in a different way. So, you know, I recognize that it's amazing, because sometimes parents will go, I just heard what you said. And they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And they're like, but I said that to them half a dozen times and they haven't listened. And so it is amazing. But to just to watch it go from, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to go, and trying to lock themselves in the car, to being in the place and the space where they're saying they want to help the next generation. That's a 13-year-old boy, 13 years old. And I always know that, I mean, I'm inspired by everyone that comes to the photo reading workshop, because there are always incredible things that happen. And I'm doubly inspired by the younger generation, because I always find it quite profound, and they're really good learners, because they haven't yet learned all the things that we learn as adults, which make it even more challenging to have an open mind and to play and to learn. Now, he was at that the what I call the critical mass point. And what I mean by that is, when I was teaching photo reading in school, I was working with 8-year-olds right through to the 16, and then, you know, kind of sixth formers as well, so 16 to 18. 8-year-olds, there was a point, there was a tipping point, and the 13-year-old who was at the photo reading workshop this weekend was on that tipping point, where it was no longer just do this, just do that, just do this, just do that. It was like, well, what do you want me to do that for? well, what's the point of that? You know, everything had to be like a debate. And so he had hit that tipping point. But before that tipping point, it's easy. After the tipping point, a bit more work is required. They're not quite as open, because a number of other societal factors come into play, not just their hormones. But yeah, it was absolutely wonderful, to see the change, to see the transformation just in that very, very short period of time. Because I think they arrived at about 5:30, something like 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that on the Friday. And we finished at 6:30 on the Sunday. So this was basically 2 days. Just amazing. Just absolutely. And I you know, I was thinking back to, I remember when I first became a photo reading instructor, and I spoke to Lynette Ayres is the master photo reading instructor. So when I did my instructor training back in March 2002, bar 5 or 6 people, Lynette Ayres had trained every single photo instructor in the world, from Australia to Japan to the Caribbean to Watford. Lynette had done it all. And so when I qualified, I remember saying to Lynette, I says, you know, my first class, how many people do you think I could handle? She says, well, Marilyn, for many beginning photo reading instructors, I would say 5 or 6 might be enough. For you, I don't think there's a limit. And she was right, because some of my very early photo reading classes, I was working with an NLP training company, and we'd have like 40, 50 people on one photo reading workshop. And so she's absolutely correct. It wasn't a numbers game. It was just like, let's just do this thing. So that was interesting. But one of the things, because every year we had to send in a report, and we would put our feedback down on the form. And this is, I know this is going to sound really crazy. I would read the feedback from my participants. You know, best course I've ever been on. This is incredible. The trainer is fantastic. Oh my God, blew my mind, exceeded my expectations. How does it get any better than this? Oh my God, you know, why isn't the whole world here? This should be taught in every school across the land. And I'd read these things, and I would actually pick the ones which are slightly less, you know, because it was just like, are they going to think I made this stuff up? But Lynette had said, even of my slightly watered down ones, she had said, wow, Marilyn, I think you should laminate your report and hang it on your wall. What incredible compliments, and they don't surprise me one bit. You are and always have been a totally present instructor. You create such a fantastic environment and have such a high energy. How could your participants not learn? And so that's from Lynette Ayres, who works for Learning Strategies Corporation. So she's the photo reading master trainer. So it was really lovely all those years ago for her to go, for most people 5 or 6, for you no limit. So that was lovely. And it is always a fantastic environment, regardless of who's in the room. And I always say this to my participants, even though people come from very different backgrounds, there are times we've had a doctor or a surgeon sitting next to an accountant, who's then next to a marketing executive, who's then next to a crystal healer, who's then next to a radiologist, who's then next to a 7-year-old, you know, who's then next to an entrepreneur, who is next to a management consultant. It's such a wide and varied, eclectic mix. And regardless of who's in the room, in terms of their age, in terms of the demographics, in terms of their religious background, in terms of the color of their skin, in terms of, you know, male, female, sexual orientation, regardless, no matter how you mix this thing up, the right people who have some sort of synergy and connection are always together in the room. Always. And so now my curiosity is always to see, because I look at the names, and sometimes I know the people who are coming, and sometimes it's just names on a page, and I look at it and I go, okay, I'm so interested to see what the dynamic is going to be like this weekend. And with the first 3 people who turn, oh, it's hilarious, it's absolutely hilarious. 3 people, the first 3 people to turn up, 2 women, 1 man. It was like talking to the same person, where they were literally just finishing each other's sentences, and one would say something, go, yeah, that's that, yeah, exactly that, that's me too. So it was just really hilarious to see how that went. And then I was like, okay, how's this going to work now when other people come in, because the dynamic is almost set. And so there was a little bit of like to reset, but just perfect, just wonderful. And so if you do have a teenager that you're struggling with, in terms of getting them to read, getting them to study, you know, getting them to even, because I might, you know, it was about, people always just think it's about reading faster, and I've been saying for the last 18 years, in terms of when I first started using photo reading, I've only been an instructor for 16 years. Well, not only, that's quite a long time now, but I've been saying for the last 18 years that photo reading goes way beyond reading. As one of the participants said, I saw it just a bit ago when I was looking for, because this is his form. Let me fold it over so you cannot see the name, but a smiley face, hang on, can you see that? A smiley face and a thumbs up, and a, you know, very good for the course and excellent for the instructor, which is just lovely. When I was flicking through looking for that, this was really lovely. So this person said, this course is a life changer. Don't hesitate, sign up now. I'm going to create a poster out of that one. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And they've said, in terms of what they like best about the program, the way the system is so accessible and adaptable and can be applied in so many ways. Because of course, not everyone there is a student. There are people who are there. There is someone who's a pharmacologist. It's really interesting actually to hear from his perspective about the brain and the neurology and all of that. And everything I was saying is like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's great. And there's something that I had shared with him that he's never heard of before. I shared it with my membership group 1.5 years ago. So you guys got the inside scoop. And as I explained the principles to him, it was like, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. And this is his field of work. So that was very exciting as well. So yeah, it's a game changer. It is life changing, both in terms of your life in general, and in terms of, if you're a student, in terms of your studying, your education, and if you're an entrepreneur, an executive, a business owner, it is absolutely transformational in terms of how you can use those skills and apply it to everything that you're doing. Oh, that is brilliant. And Kate Thomas says, I'd also like to thank you for enabling me to see the magic eye picture for the first time. And Kate, that happens all the time. People will rock up on the Friday, see the magic eye, a group of people go, oh, hate those, can't see them. And by the Sunday, if not by the Friday, as you saw yourself, there were people, one guy who had never been able to see them, with a little bit of coaching and instruction, saw it straight away, and then he was coaching other people throughout the weekend so they could see it too. And because it's one of those things that people can't, and for me, it took me 30 odd years to be able to see them. But yeah, people come in not being able to see the magic eye pictures, then suddenly, whoa, it's a whole new world. So really exciting to see the change and transformation in everyone, and also in the most unlikely of candidates. Because imagine having somebody come to the training and they try to lock themselves in the car so they didn't have to attend, and by the end of the weekend they're saying they've got a skill for life and they want to teach this to the next generation. How completely incredible is that? So, you know, absolutely wonderful. If you want to join me, I mean, I've been, if you watched my video earlier on today, I was saying that, you know, I'm really going to have a rethink about what I do with regards to the photo reading next year, and whether or not I might just have a break from running them. Not sure that I'm going to run them again next year. Might have a little breather. And the reason for that is just, you know, getting people in the room, even with nearly 20 years worth of incredible testimonials, is just becoming a bit challenging. And I'm like, that's not really how I want to spend my time, quite frankly. So from that perspective, I'm going to run less of them, because it means I have to go through the hoops less times per year. So there's that. And I'm also experimenting with transitioning from the live workshops into running video webinar workshops. So the first full-on photo reading video webinar workshop is at the end of this month. So if you watch, actually I've still got it here from my previous one, let me find that. So if you are watching this in real time, it's happening at the end of this month. I think that's the one. Yeah, so it's a kind of a video webinar version of the photo reading training. That means you can take part from anywhere in the world. And if you're watching Facebook Live, that means you have the capacity to take part, because it will be going out live via video. So I'm going to be sat here. It's not on Facebook Live, it's on a kind of closed private video webinar platform. So you'll be able to go through all the PowerPoint slides. You'll probably actually be able to see them more clearly than in the room because the sun won't be shining on the screen. So you'll see all of the, we'll have all of the PowerPoint slides. I'll be there on video teaching the class, taking you through all of the exercises. What also will happen is there's a chat room, much like we've got here. People are sharing on Facebook Live, and thank you so much for your comments and the thumbs up and the likes. It's always nice to know I'm not just sat here talking to myself. So we've got a video chat room. We've also got the facility in the room where you can open up your microphone, which means if you have questions, you can actually ask your questions and articulate them. And also there is the facility to switch on your webcam if you wanted to kind of really interact in real time. So, and it's going to be the same timings as the full-on workshop. So we're going to start at 3 o'clock on the, oh, that's cool. Sorry, we're going to start at 3 o'clock on the Friday, and then we do all day Saturday and Sunday. So of course we'll have breaks and lunch breaks and all the rest of it as well. So, see how that goes at the end of the month. And it may be that that's the thing, because it's going to be so much easier not having to try and, get people to be around at the same time on the same day and be able to come to Watford. And so I really kind of, I'm going to play with that. And I already know that that concept works from the other stuff that I've got out in the world already. Hang on, where is it? I had it here last time. I think it was that one. Yeah, so I've already got the 1-day video training, and actually that works. People watch that. I've had people who failed exams, they've watched that, they've gone and passed their exams and done it easily and felt relaxed and calm in the exam and could see their mind maps in their mind. And there's no interaction from me apart from sitting watching me on a video that was recorded a few years prior, yet people will watch that and say, I felt like I was a fly on the wall. I felt like I was in the room with you. When you did the HUNA session, I felt it. When such and such happened, I laughed. When XYZ happened, I cried. And so I already know that it works in terms of the video format just by watching the video. And so this is going to be the next level up from that, because it will be live and in real time. So if you wanted to join, actually, I think I've still got it copied from my previous Facebook Live. Let me just see what happens if I do that. Oh, no, I didn't, because I copied that in as well. Or did I? Let me just see. Oh, no, it's still there. So I'm just having a mental conversation, going to have a cut and paste anything since I had the link. But if you did want to have a look at the online version of the training, I've just dropped that into the conversation thread. It's a ridiculously long link. I'm not even going to say it. But I've also put a link to it on the Eventbrite page, which is secretoffphotoreading.eventbrite.com. Let me call that one up as well. Drop that in while I'm here. secretoffphotoreading.eventbrite.com. So this is a traditional page where you'll always, if I am running another workshop, you'll find the details there, or go to my main website, www.transformationstm.com. Trance, T-R-A-N-C-E, formations, F for Freddy, O-R-M-A-T-I-O-N-S, TM as in trademark, so transformationstm.com/photo reading. Yeah, actually, while I'm about it, because that's not far from that. /photo reading, and you will find all of the details there. A bit of information about what photo reading is. Some of my kind of old, when I say old clients, I don't mean they're old in age. I mean testimonial videos I filmed a few years ago. So you'll find some testimonials videos on there. You'll find some further information. So yeah, I'd say watch this space with regards to what's happening for next year. If I've got enough people that want to do the photo reading workshop that I'm thinking of running, so if you're in Bristol, Bath, Somerset, that kind of area, you've got until the end of this month to register. If there are enough people, then I'm going to run one in Bristol. So if you're watching this and you know anyone in that area who would like to attend, because I always run, I mean, probably been running them in Watford now for the last 8-9 years. Occasionally I used to run the odd one in Watford, normally around about King's Cross, because I come in at London Euston, make it easy for myself. But it's been about 10 years since I've run them anywhere other than Watford. But I did a talk recently for an organisation called the Yes Group, and a group of people were asking if I'd be willing to run one more local for them. So if I've got enough bookings in by the end of this month, then I'll be running one in Bristol sometime next year. There's no date as yet, because what I'm going to do is speak to the people who have booked, pick a date that they can all do, and then that's the date that goes out to the public. So if you want to, actually, I have got a page for that one as well. Bristol workshop. So it's called Bristol photoreadingworkshop.eventbrite.com. So I will put that into the conversation thread as well. So if you're watching this as a recording, check the conversation thread. All of the links are in there. And if you know anyone who would be interested in taking part in the video webinar version or joining me in Bristol for a live workshop, feel free to share this video with them, or cut and paste the links and share the links. Or, you know, people don't always like to be tagged into things, but, you know, feel free to copy and paste the links. And if you are interested in taking part in a live photo reading workshop here in Watford, then what I'll do in terms of the Secret of Photo Reading Eventbrite page, I will add an expression of interest. So maybe that's the way I'll do it next year, is kind of have people who kind of say that yes, they're interested, and then I can go back and kind of look at dates from there. I think that will make my life way easier. Yeah, so well done to the teenager who had that amazing, incredible, you know, transformation. And I look forward to seeing how you take your skills forward and how you share this with the next generation, because it's exactly what Eve said. And she went back to school and started, you know, showing her friends some of these tools and techniques in secret. And there's a reason why it was in secret. Those of you who attended this weekend know why that is. And I look forward to seeing what the latest moody teenager, who is now really enjoying the new lifelong skill and excited to share it with the next generation. And also, if you have attended one of my photo reading workshops over the years, I'd love to hear how you're getting on. And some of your stories and things that you've done with it. You know, I often hear about it anecdotally, and if I'm running the photo reading mastermind group, I get to see the unfolding of that in a very accelerated way over the period of 6 months, because it's designed to really kind of take things to the next level and speed up the rate at which you integrate photo reading. So I get to hear those stories. But for the people who do the workshop and then kind of go out into the ether, it'll be lovely to hear how you're getting on as well. So thank you to everyone who has attended a photo reading class over the last 16 years. I really, really appreciate your participation. Feel free to share with other people who could benefit from learning the same skill. That will be lovely, because word of mouth is a very, very powerful way of sharing. And I'm sure way more effective than me putting up a Facebook post. So, you know, feel free to share, feel free to send people in my direction. That would be lovely. And yeah. Let's see what happens at the end of this month when we run the first ever, and I really think it is the first ever. I don't think Learning Strategies have done the occasional live stream, but as far as I'm aware, this is the first time that any instructor in the world has ever done it in a video webinar format. So another world first from Marilyn Devonish coming your way. And if you've got any questions, you've got any queries, feel free to email me, Marilyn, MARILYN, at transformationstm.com. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your likes. Thank you so much for sharing. If you're somebody who has shared this video, I really, really appreciate it. And I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.